apply a certificate that is genuine to prove your case before the court that yes, indeed, the person has forged his.
All right, let's take a short break, and when we return, it's the time to speak with the former Commissioner for Information in Edo State and member of the APC, Kazeem Afegbua, on Oyetola's victory in the Osun State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal and the 2023 permutations. Stay with us. Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the guests of the day. I am now joined by the former Commissioner for Information in Edo State and member of the All Progressives Congress APC, Kazeem Afegbua, on Oyetola's victory in the Osun State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal and the 2023 permutations. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much. But please, just take note that I'm not a member of APC.
All right. Noted. Now, let's begin with the Osun State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal. What is your view of this judgment?
Well, I saw this judgment coming barely 2 weeks ago when I had an interview with one of the television houses. I told them that with the fraud they perpetrated in the Osun election, that they were going to knock out that election because it was obvious that they tampered with the beavers. That was why you had two different scenarios. The APC collected the proper certified true copy of the beavers report. After 30 days, PDP collected their own what they call. You already know that there were discrepancies. Don't forget that in Ede, the stronghold of Adeleke, voting took place up to about 7 p.m. that day. And so that gave room for manipulation. And I said that beavers can be tampered with because I had accused the Atiku camp that they were training personnel that would go to tamper with beavers with respect to 2023 election. The Osun election has just given us a scenario of what is possible and what is not possible. But I'm happy that the decision of the tribunal was in line with my thinking that you can tamper with beavers, but you cannot go through with it. So I didn't expect anything less than knocking off the dancing governor Adeleke from that position.
All right, I'm glad you mentioned the word discrepancies. So who do we blame for these discrepancies we have just witnessed?
Well, you blame both the candidate of the PDP and those who colluded with him in the process of manipulating, the electoral process and the election proper. Because under the new arrangement of beavers, your accredited voters ought to be the same with result that you declare. But in this case, the incidence of overvoting was established such that by the time they subtracted it from the revotes, they discovered that Adeleke now became a runner-up while Oyetola won, and by virtue of the provision of the Electoral Act as amended, the tribunal was bound to declare anybody who has majority vote and who has fulfilled all the requirements as provided in the Electoral Act, having majority votes in 2/3 of the local government of the state. And so, in the heart of hearts of Adeleke and his co-travelers, they know surely that they tamper with the process, particularly in Ede, where he comes from. And that is why the beavers was able to establish that what do you call synchronized beavers report, which they obtained 30 days after the tribunal. And there was one after the election. Then the certified true copy was obtained by the APC, where they established that what they have in the beavers was different from the votes that they had on ground. The incidence of voting was established. And once that is established, the law is very clear on that.
All right, it's also very important for us to look at the split judgment. What issues do you think this has brought up?
Well, the split judgment is talking about the people not pleading what was granted by the tribunal. Well, in every litigation, you are bound to, particularly election issue, there are bound to be people, someone or one or two persons who will not agree with the judgment. So no problem about that. When they go to appeal court will do justice to it, but nothing will change, because I know specifically that they tamper with the beavers in that Osun election. I've raised alarm also that they are planning to use the same method for the 2023 election. But thank God that this one will now be an eye-opener for everyone. So we'll be more vigilant in the re-election of 2023 across all the states of the Federation, so that Atiku and his co-hackers will not tamper with the fluidity and the flow of election on that day.
All right, so this is coming less than a month to the presidential election. What impact do you think this will have on the electoral fortune of APC and the PDP in the 2023 elections?
You see, the point is this. Anything that will make PDP to lose 2023 election, I am 120% in support of such move. And so I am happy that this one has put spanner in their works in Osun State, because it was an unmerited victory in the first place. You cannot tamper with the beavers doing online accreditation, doing overvoting, and you want to go away with it. No, that's not possible. I also expect that INEC will refuse to appeal this judgment, because it has no business appealing. If Adeleke let him go and appeal, that is his own burden. But INEC should know that it's an unbiased umpire, and they should work within the ambits of the law and just allow this thing to go seamlessly. The point is, 2023 election, beavers will be deployed. But like I said, there are people who are training experts, hackers, and all that, trying to tamper with the process on that day. This election outcome will be like a check on those kind of persons who are very desperate in Atiku's camp. And I say this with full authority, knowing that persons have gone to some places to go and learn how they can use a backdoor method to enter into the beavers and what have you. And I said it 2-3 weeks ago that the Osun election, that whether they like it or not, once that incident of overvoting was established, they were going to have a problem. And that's exactly what happened. And so it's good for the 2023 elections optics. It's also good for us to be more vigilant in the entire process, because we are going to be covering 173,600 polling units across the Federation. 93.4 million persons will be voting in that election. And so every member of the ruling party, electorates and all of that, they have to be vigilant at the polling unit level and all of that, so that if they say election should stop by 5, stop by 5. If election should stop by 4, please stop by 4. But in the case of Osun, they voted up to 6 p.m., 7 p.m., and they were saying results were still being awaited. That was where they did all the manipulation. And today the tribunal had just put a lie to that and knocked the guy off.
All right, Mr. Afegbua, we still have a lot to talk about, but that will be right after this commercial break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Nigeria needs focused leadership to take decisive action to end insecurity, reposition our economy for businesses to thrive, and restore total peace in the land. Tinubu is the right man for the job. Through innovation and technology, he will reposition Nigeria for businesses to thrive. Nigeria will export more and import less. Tinubu will reposition the agricultural sector for food security and improve farmers' welfare. Electricity will be reformed for a brighter Nigeria. Health, education, and housing will be more accessible and affordable. Nigeria will be transformed into an entertainment powerhouse, a home of sporting achievement, and a renowned tourist destination. Tinubu's government will build a Nigeria where we prosper together. He has done it before, and he will do it again for Nigeria.
For renewed hope 2023, vote Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Senator Kashim Shettima as President and Vice President of Nigeria. Vote APC.
Welcome back to Politics Tonight, and I still have with me the former Commissioner for Information in Edo State, Kazeem Afegbua. As we take a critical look at Oyetola's victory in the Osun State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal and the 2023 Permutation. Mr. Afegbua, yes, the tribunal ruled that the election was not conducted in full compliance with the Electoral Act 2022 due to overvoting in 744 polling units. But looking at it in this direction, why is this judgment attracting some negativity?
No, it's deliberate by the PDP. They try to put negative connotation to it so that it will discredit the outcome of the tribunal. When the APC, when there were other scenarios in some states where APC lost and PDP benefited, they didn't complain, you know. But when it now became a point that APC is the one gaining now and PDP is losing, they are shouting blue murder. But the facts of the matter must be established that there were incidences of overvoting, and by the time they counted the remaining results, the fulfillment of the relevant provisions of the Electoral Act and by extension the Constitution of the country was still guaranteed, because the candidate in a governorship election must score majority votes in at least 2/3 of the local governments of the state, while that of the president, a candidate must score at least majority votes in 2/3 of the states of the federation. So when all those incidences of overvoting were considered and they subtracted those overvoting, those votes away from the real vote that were accredited by Beavers, Beavers was the denominator. They didn't create those figures. They had to, follow that procedure, because that was what was authenticated after accreditation and voting. So when they discovered that there was overvoted, they just needed to give a verdict. But PDP will normally want to put a spin to it. They know that this election, they have lost this election, 2023, and they are getting into more and more trouble every day. They've lost 5 governors called G5. They have lost a 6th governor now, Adeleke. It's now G6, if you like. Most likely there's G7 in Bauchi. And so I don't know when they keep talking that they are going to win this election. I'm just wondering, I'm just looking at them. It's possible that they want to rely on tampering with beavers and using hackers to hack into it, or doing online registration simultaneously with the proper accreditation and all of that. But with this judgment in Osun, every member of the ruling party, supporters of Tinubu, we all are going to open our eyes. I'm a strong supporter of Tinubu. Those 300% wants to vote. And the outcome of those results must reflect what the Beavers has captured. In the case of Osun, it didn't happen that way. That's why we're having this kind of crisis. All
right. Again, one of the issues Oyetola and the APC asked the tribunal to decide on was that Adeleke was not qualified to run for the office of the governor, having forged the secondary school certificate. Are you surprised about the verdict of the tribunal on this? Mr. Afegbua. If you can hear me, let me repeat my question. One of the issues Oyetola and the APC asked the tribunal to decide on was that Adeleke was not qualified to run for the office of the governor, having forged the secondary school certificate. I'm asking if you're surprised about the verdict of the tribunal on this. All right, looks like we might take another quick break, and we'll be right back. Please stay with us.
In the month of January 2023, the 4th of January is dedicated to World Braille Day to celebrate the inventor Louis Braille. On 6th January, it will be 2 years when U.S. Capitol was attacked by the then President Donald Trump supporters. On 8th January 2020, Ukraine International Airline Flight 752 was shut down shortly after takeoff. 15th January is the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, which marks the end of the Civil War in 1970. 24th January is International Education. On 27th January is World Leprosy Day, observed to create awareness on the disease. Stay tuned to TVC News as we serve you with reports and analyses on these notable events.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
The National Assembly is a busy place. As the bastion of democracy, it is a place where bills are presented, motions debated, laws made, and the yearnings of the people are laid bare. Come with us as we take you through the workings of the National Assembly. We take you through plenary, committee meetings, and probes, all to ensure smooth working of the democratic process.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time?
TVC News. First with breaking news.
Information is power. Information is security. Information is knowledge. On Labor Lens, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I am sure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
Welcome back to Politics Tonight, and I still have with me the former Commissioner for Information in Edo State, Kazeem Afegbua. We're taking a critical look at Oyetola's victory in the Osun State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal and the 2023 permutations. All right, before we went on that break, I was trying to establish that one of the issues Oyetola and the APC asked the tribunal to decide on was that Adeleke was not qualified to run for the office of the governor, having forged his secondary school certificate. I'm asking, are you surprised about the verdict of the tribunal on this?
Well, for me, I'm actually not bothered about what qualification Adeleke has. After all, he knows how to dance very well. Dance can be a qualification for him. But I'm more interested in what took place on that election day, the issue of falsifying figures and, manipulating the process to the point that you had overvoting in an election that the Beavers ought to checkmate such incidences. And so the ability of the tribunal to actually, underscore that issue of overvoting is gladiating to my heart. I'm quite happy about it. I feel a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment that, after all, Beavers has capacity to also put certain desperados in check. And whether Adeleke went to school, whether he's a permanent holder, he 45, the law is there to take its course. Once it's established that he doesn't have that, that will be his second leg of the issue. But what is critical for me is that Adeleke has been shown the exit door. Oyetola is the governor of Osun State as we speak, and he will remain so, whether they swear him in or they give him certificate of return or not. He will remain so until an appeal says otherwise. And so I know that Adeleke has rushed that he's going to appeal and all of that. I'm not bothered about that. The fundamental thing is the fact that they were overvoting in Osun. We saw it. I raised the alarm 3-4 weeks ago. And today it has come to pass. I'm happy about that.
All right, as we talk about overvoting, it's also very important to note that the judges said both Oyetola and Adeleke benefited from the overvoting. Hence, they cancelled 181,540 votes cast in the 744 polling units across 10 local government areas of the state. How do we get rid of this in this very crucial, decisive 2023 elections?
We will get rid of it if we are able to cool us in the process of accreditation and voting. And INEC must also talk to its staff. They must be conversant and be able to resist temptations and pressure from politicians who want to undermine the process. Don't forget that the ad hoc staff that INEC oftentimes employs are not permanent staffs of INEC, and so guarantee their unbiased posturing or even staying above the fray of manipulating the process becomes difficult. So what the parties must do is for their agents to apply extra senses to ensure that the right things are done, the proper accreditation is done, the right voting time is adhered to. Because if you follow the Osun scenario and taking inspiration from all the 3060s of the Federation and the FCT, you might not be able to meet up with the timing because the turnout for election this year will be high, such that even the beavers may not be able to capture all persons who are waiting to vote on that election day. So what the ad hoc staff should do is for them to ensure that they don't apply unnecessary delay, which will now give room to pressure, then pressure giving room to unnecessary manipulation. So, but it is good news, like I told you, that Adeleke has been shown the exit door. It is also good news for Beavers that Beavers was able to establish that there was overvoting. What Beavers accredited was not what was captured in the manual collated results, and so the Tribunal has taken the right decision. So it is left for the appeal and the Supreme Court to follow suit in line with the evidence before them.
All right, so with all of these challenges that have been recorded, how then do we increase the faith of many Nigerians in the electoral system?
How do you increase what?
The faith of many Nigerians in the electoral system. How do we increase the faith of many Nigerians?
You see, getting involved is very crucial. And ensuring that on that day that you come out to vote is another. But coming out to vote, like I said, will also mean that you have to be vigilant of what the transaction is right at the polling unit. All of us, we must play the role of agents for our respective candidates and ensure that certain persons do not come and manipulate the system, intimidate voters, and try to cause havoc in the process of exercising their franchise. Democracy is very interesting. Is a game of participation. Once the people have resolved that they are coming to vote, they definitely will have their way. But I'm afraid that the role of ad hoc staff, particularly those who do not, who are not answerable to INEC, they are just on an ad hoc basis, is what the INEC itself must look into critically, because the Osun scenario took place because there was collusion between the INEC staff, ad hoc staff essentially, and persons who are representative of the politicians, particularly Adeleke. Because if you look at the polling units that were cancelled, majority of them are from Adeleke's stronghold. And so I am of the opinion, very strong one, that we all must be extra vigilant on that day of election and ensure that we allow Beavers to play its role by accrediting voters, and when they vote, results are computed manually and they tally with what the beavers has in place. That way, everybody who is a participant will be satisfied with the process. Because it is not just about the outcome of the process, it's about the processes leading to that outcome. And in the case of Osun, the processes were fraught with problems. That was why you saw the position the tribunal took.
All right, what then is your view about, conduct of INEC officials in Osun State, where staff provided different reports of accredited voters?
You see, I don't want to even dwell too much on INEC and the Osun scenario. I think we have gone beyond that. I am more interested in what will happen in the 2023 general election and how the PDP will be trounced mercilessly at that election. That is my interest. That will be my joy, because there are a lot of misgivings, within the PDP camp presently. I understand yesterday that they have voted 205 billion to prosecute the 2023 presidential election, and they have given directive to the vice presidential candidate of PDP, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, to go and raise part of that money. And the reason why they had to quickly put together a loan 3 months to the expiration of Okowa as governor, they passed a law in the assembly, the fastest law that has been passed in the history of legislation in Nigeria. 6 minutes. They passed a law in the Delta Assembly, approving 120 billion loan for Okowa. Only God knows what he wants to do with it. And given the way and manner that loans are procured, you are supposed to provide evidence and details of what you want to spend that money for. You are also supposed to provide how you are going to pay back, if you are going to use your IGR or irrevocable payment standing order, and so many other requirements. All of that were never provided for. The Delta Assembly just woke up in the morning. Within 6 minutes, they passed a law guarantee 120 billion loan from a bank that has just been registered, Premium Trust Bank. Only God knows where that bank is coming from. If we trace the antecedent of that bank, I'm sure even the governor himself may have a hand in it. But the point is, we must begin to interrogate some of these processes. Persons who want to govern us, who want to preside us, are presiding over illegalities, and they want us to be clapping for them. How can the governor wake up in the morning and before you say Jack Robinson, an assembly ought to make law for the good governance of Delta people? He's approved 120 billion loan, even 3 months to the expiration of Okowa. But of course, like I told you, they have drawn up a budget of 205 billion they will use to prosecute. And they want to make sure that every state of the federation gets at least 33 billion to buy votes and all of that. I will continue to expose them, and I'm an insider in PDP. I will get details of some of this all the time. We go about it, I will continue to expose them. And it is a shame on Governor Okowa that he will be presiding over an assembly that will approve a loan of 120 billion within 6 minutes. And yet, you want me to be clapping for him or to celebrate him that he's an achiever? That is arrant nonsense. Very ridiculous, very unfortunate scenario that we have found ourselves in the hands of those who pretend to be our leaders and who pretend to govern states just for their own interests and nothing more.
All right, before we move on to other issues, let me have your final take on this. Now, going by these judgments, will you say political actors and electoral officials have a deeper understanding of the Electoral Act 2022?
Well, the Osun scenario, the Osun outcome is an eye-opener that you cannot manipulate your way to power using beavers without being caught. So Adeleke was caught in the act, and that's why you see the way the tribunal delivers its judgment. You can't just wake up in the morning and because you want to be a governor of a state, you have to spend so much money looking for hackers, looking for those who will tamper with the process. Technology is very sensitive, and I'm happy that the APC were very smart to have obtained a certified true copy of the actual report of beavers immediately 24 hours after the election. The PDP, because they were still celebrating their first victory, had to wait until 30 days before they now went and obtained what they say synchronized Beavers report. Very laughable, very ridiculous, catchphrase. Just to confuse
does this mean
the
our politicians do not have the full understanding of the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022?
No, politicians, particularly those who are contesting election, are always very desperate. And they are always desperate because they want power at all costs. It is the same desperation that made Atiku to ignore in a flagrant manner the provisions of the PDP constitution that provides for zoning of presidency between North and South. And given the fact that the Northern candidate contested in 2019, it ought to be the turn of the South in PDP to produce a candidate. But because of this desperation, they want to abuse law. They are never respecter of law and process. They are never respecter of guidelines and regulations. They want to preside over us. And yet they will still be telling us some very nebulous policies, talking about their useless manifesto that can fetch no one any good. You see, the point is, if we don't put in place respect for rule of law, respect for guidelines, rules and regulations, we will have a lawless country. And that is what the PDP candidate is promoting. That is why you see crisis in PDP every now and then. A provision, Article 7, subsection 3C, is provided for in the constitution of PDP that there shall be rotation. But an article, because of desperation, they wouldn't want to respect the law, decide that he must contest this election. It's like a President Buhari leaving power as a northerner, want to hand over power to another northerner. It's like an Igbo man leaving power and want to hand over to an Igbo man. Or a Yoruba man leaving power and want to hand over to an Igbo. In a country as diverse as this country, as sensitive, as delicate as this country, that is an invitation to chaos. And they don't care about whether we suffer chaos, whether we suffer violence or anything. They don't care. It's all about their own selfish interests. That is why I commend the initiative and the stand of the APC Northern Governor, 14 of them, who took a stand and, respectfully, supported a Southern candidate to emerge as the candidate of the APC. That is why I'm actually supporting Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because now in Nigeria you must balance the power algorithms. You cannot run away from it. You cannot.
All right, Mr. Afegbua. Now let's move on to some other matters. A former member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, Najata Mohammed, has described Tinubu as deranged and unfit to rule. How will you react to this? All right, looks like we may have to take another break. When we come back, we will continue this discussion. Please stay with us.
It's always a great morning on the TVC Breakfast Show.
Thanks for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
With the array of stories that matter and what's behind them.
As you say, the first blow indicates the direction of government.
Tell us what really is going on between your union and the federal government.
Once it's generated,
if you don't use it, it's waste. We are not even sure whether we have a strategy for security.
Are you saying that there was nothing wrong in that?
Was he the one driving the taxi?
Answer the question.
Reveal your morning with all you need to know.
Like
yes, just mundane lyrics.
Yes.
How does that fit into your scheme of events or duties right now?
No chief of staff, no general has the right to call a governor to order. The governor has been elected by his people.
Start your day right, because this is the breakfast show that adds to your breakfast. TVC Breakfast, weekdays at 7 a.m. only on TVC.
Welcome back to Politics Tonight. Well, I still have with me the former Commissioner for Information in Edo State, Kazeem Afegbua. We've been taking a critical look at the Oyetola's victory in the Osun State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal and the 2023 permutations. Mr. Afegbua, now let's move to the final lap of our program. Now, a former member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, Najata Mohammed, has described Tinubu as deranged and unfit to rule. How will you react to this?
Well, I think we are giving undue attention to a Najatu Mohammed who dwells largely on noise making, just like an empty barrel that she is. You see, when you want to interrogate or even appreciate ladies and women politicians who are contributing, to national dialogue and national discourse, I would rather look at the cerebral, suave, and knowledgeable disposition of Hannatu Musawa, such a wonderful, thoroughbred northern lady whose delivery on issues, show a clear understanding of the delicate balance that the Nigerian nation is sitting on. So when you put Hannatu Musawa on the one side, you see the beauty of roses. When you now put Najatu, you see the symptoms of a hustler who wants to make sure that he keeps his body and soul together. Just like I said in some other places, Najatu Mohammed has divided herself into 4 different parts. One part of it, she's a member of APC because she's enjoying her appointment as member of the Police Service Commission under Buhari. On the another part, she's supporting Kwankwaso of the NNPP because of the candidate of NNPP in Kano State. Another part, she's a member of PDP in Adamawa State because Atiku must give her a pot of soup so that she can feed herself. And so many other scenarios. Even the woman APC Guba candidate in Adamawa, she's also supporting her. So she's divided into several parts just because anyhow, just like they say it in local parlance, kalu. She's playing kalu. So anyone that wins, she's there for them. So for me, I don't want to dwell much on Najatu Mohammed. She knows for noise making. She thinks that Nigeria is still at the realm of Aluta Continua in her university days when they were doing student activism with no clear-cut policy direction and all of that. All I know is that the much of Najatu that I know, I would rather want to subject her to medical examination. I will pay for her medical checkup overseas, any hospital of her choice. Let me also check her whether she's actually well. Because she may be suffering from mental health, you may not know. She may be suffering from depression. She may be suffering from emotional trauma and so many other things. So when women like that who are making all that, and when they go through all of this process, they talk from their head, not from their heart. And so for me, I don't want to dwell too much on Najatu Mohammed. We are giving her too much attention. She's inconsequential. She has never won an election in her local government or even her polling unit in Kano. She contested an election before. She has always been an abysmal failure. And she has gone to meet another failure in Atiku Abubakar, who is known to be a perennial contestant all year round. And so I'm not bothered about that.
All right, so the APC presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, has alluded to fifth columnists trying to sabotage the coming elections. Is this really the case?
What? Can you go back your question?
All right.
Yes.
The APC presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, has alluded to fifth columnists trying to sabotage the coming elections. For you, is this really the case?
Yes. You see, there are saboteurs in every government, and if they have their way, they don't want election to hold next month, February 25th. I've had scenarios, I've had persons who have said that they want interim national government, they want elections not to hold so that there will be an interim national government. They want to bring one person or the other to come and spend 6 months or 1 year before they do election. All of this exists, but I want to believe that the president of the country, Muhammadu Buhari, has, the ability to instruct and guide INEC to conduct the 2023 election as such when due, because they have already positioned the timetable, we have followed the timetable and all of that. But of course, a man like Asiwaju Bola Tinubu will not just make bogus statements. He knows that there are saboteurs in every government. He knows that there are clear-cut efforts to ensure that they strangulate politicians and all of that so that the election will be like a Herculean task for everyone who is participating in it. And we are also watching them bumper to bumper. We know what they are trying to do using this issue of money, money swap and new printed money. We know what they are trying to do. We are following them. At the appropriate time, we will unveil all their plans. We will unveil all their plans. So I don't want to exercise fear, because we must give confidence to the electorate. We must give confidence to Nigerians that the election must hold. And whether they like it or not, those saboteurs must know that the country is bigger than their selfish and individual interests. We will continue to advocate that the right thing must be done at the right time. And if wherever we discover that they are trying to manipulate the system, we will expose their plan and ensure that the right decision is taken to nip them in the bud.
All right, so, amid an overcharged political environment, there is also the issue of Naira redesign, which you tried to touch.
Well, you see, Nigeria, each time elections are coming, it's always a matter of charged atmosphere. People will always express fear and all of that. But this is our country. We must remain here to build our country. We must continue to advocate for better society. We must mobilize the electorate. We must conscientize them. We must sensitize them so that they will know that they are part and parcel of the process of choosing their leader who will deliver on his electoral promises to them. For me, I am irrevocably committed to a Tinubu aspiration, because I know from my own experience and from my understanding of Nigerian politics that the man has the capacity to move us forward. He understands the dominant issues. He understands the delicate balance that the Nigerians sit on. He knows that there's need for us to deepen national conversation, deepen national dialogue, engage in constructive bargaining, collective networking, so that in the final analysis in all of these, when he comes into government, he will know that he didn't just get there. He obtained the mandate of Nigerians cut across all the polling units in this country. And by so doing, his policies and programs must wear a national outlook. What is good for the geese, as they say it's also good for the gander. So a Tinubu that we know is a man who is result-driven, utility-driven. He understands the issues. He will be a rallying point to move the elite consensus on salient issues that will deepen our democracy. Don't forget that as we speak now, there are a lot of agitations in the southeast. Southwest, there are agitations. In the north, there are banditry and criminality and all of that. We need a president that will be taken up from Buhari, who can rally us on a round table, on a dialogue table, and speak truth to power, and so that we can take decisions that will have far-reaching impact on the well-being of Nigerians. But if we continue to pretend, and some other persons, some PDP say there's no problem, Atiku has experience. I say, what experience?
Mr. Afegbua,
he has no experience, no executive experience. Yes?
Mr. Afegbua, I'm asking if in any way the Naira redesign, will it address vote buying in any way?
There is a greater consciousness. There's a greater consciousness in this electoral year. You see, people are becoming more and more mobilized and conscientized. So if you think money, the poor man in the village are not the ones who will go and source that money. The rich man will still source money, but once there are penalties for checkmating or sanctions for those who will want to abuse the process by buying votes, then there will be some level of check. For me, I am not seeing vote buying as an issue in this election. It won't work. Whether you take the money back to the coffers of the banks, or you change your currency, all of that, those who will still get this money will get money. But I am not an advocate. I am an advocate of popular participations of Nigerians and the voters. And I know that Tinubu enjoys widespread popularity across the country. His party controls 21 governors, including that of Osun. Will be 22 governors out of 36. So there is no how that they won't have a greater opportunity to canvass for votes for their own candidates.
All right, Mr. Afegbua, as a former member of the PDP, how will you react to former President Obasanjo's denial of third-term interest?
No, I've said it before that President Obasanjo actually asked for third term. He asked for third term. We can't deny that, because I'm aware that some of the what do you call it now? Some of the meetings they had in those days of third term, we have records of them. And he also invited my boss, former President IBB, Aliu Gusso, Abdulsalami Abubakar and all that, for a meeting where he told her he wanted an extension of time, even 6 months, 1 year, and all of that. And they told him pointedly that, well, it is true that they were his friends before he became president. They worked for his emergence as president in 1999. But having been president, President Obasanjo abandoned them. And so for that reason, they wanted him to use his new friends to get what he wanted. And don't forget, part of the reason why Tote failed was because people like IBB, Aliu Gusso, Abdulsalami, and other stakeholders worked openly against Tote. And that was why it didn't work. And Obasanjo was bitter about that and had to frustrate the aspiration of General Babangida when he wanted to contest the 2007 election. He brought in Sheikh Musa Yar'Adua. But of course, IBB is a statesman. Before he took the final decision, he even wrote formally to Obasanjo to tell him, I am no longer interested.
Mr. Afegbua, just before we go, now, Edo, your home state, is in the South-South, which used to be a stronghold of PDP. Now, with obese incursions into the South-South, do you think your party still enjoys popularity in that zone?
Always tell me my candidate. Tinubu is my candidate. I'm not a member of APC. I'm supporting Tinubu.
I'm talking about the PDP, your former party.
My former party in Edo cannot do anything in 2023 election. APC would defeat PDP at the presidential election. That one is fair and square, because the governor has since become a bull in a China shop. He's fighting everybody. He's fighting both left, both right, anybody he sees on side. The party that gave him platform to contest election in 2020, he started barely 6 months into his second term, started fighting Dan Obi, who was the mastermind of everything that took place, who campaigned with the governor in all the 192 wards in Edo State and all of that. And so, when you have ingratitude, dancing on the streets of Edo State, people who can speak to reason and good conscience will naturally use their votes to punish the governor. And so in the 2023 election, February 25, they will use their votes to punish the governor for being such an ingrate to those who made him governor for second time. Even he offended those who made him governor for the first time, second time again, both the voters, both the leaders, both the stakeholders, he offended them. And he keeps offending them, playing God to everybody. And so by 2025, when the results are out from Edo, you will call me and I will tell you how it looks like. But of course, APC is going to defeat Obaseki as his co-travelers in the 2023 election in Edo State.
All right, then. I have a speaking with the former.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much. God bless you.
And thank you so much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on Twitter at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke O. Using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Join us for the repeat episode at midnight and tomorrow for another edition of Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Goodbye.
January 2023. The 4th of January is dedicated to World Braille Day to celebrate the inventor Louis Braille. On 6th January, it will be 2 years when U.S. Capitol was attacked by the then